Yep. It's got to be done. Somebody's got to do it around here.
Chantel. Chantel's the good one for it. That's right.
She stuck back here in her cubby where she she could be safe from all that.
We should be up.
Are we up? Yeah, there we are. Welcome everybody who's watching online. I know we got some folks who are coming in just a few minutes. They always kind of filter in little by little. But for those who are watching as a recording, you don't want to sit around and wait, do you? No need for you to. So we're going to start off with some birthdays. I hadn't done this. I did not realize that it had been like this. But I'll look back and, oh wait, I did do this on the 11th. That wasn't that long ago. It was just a couple of weeks ago. But before that, it had been October since I had done it. So anyway, all right. And I know that y'all are dying to know, what birthdays do we have in the church? Do we have any? Checking.
Hold on.
Checking.
I got it right here. No, we do not.
Okay. All right. No birthdays that we know of in the church.
No birthdays.
But there are some birthdays that we know of in the world. And I've got what I think are some interesting things to report to you about today. What happened on today's date? And really just three birthdays that I thought were interesting. And really a lot of the things that not a lot, but several of the things I'm going to share might be interesting to you if you have a particular hobby. Okay, so for instance, 1882, if you're a reader, you might know the name Virginia Woolf, the British author. Today was her birthday in 1882. 1978, happy birthday to Vladimir Zelensky. Did you know that he was an actor before he became president of Ukraine? But man, what a time for an actor to step up to the plate as what they're dealing with right now. But anyway, 1978, he's just a youngin'. Golly, just a youngin' leading his country through a time like this. And then, for those of you who like pop music, 1981, happy birthday to Alicia Keys. A few interesting deaths on this date as well. I don't major on these, but these are kind of interesting, actually. 1947, the death of Al Capone. Now, what took him, I don't know, it was a combination, and will probably understand this better than I would, but it was like a combination of a stroke and pneumonia and syphilis. I don't know, it was all combined in there somewhere. But anyway, he died at age 48. He died as a youngin'. 1990, again, for those of you who are like old school, I think it's old school movies, Ava Gardner died on this date. She died of pneumonia. She was 67. 1999, if you're into music, Robert Shaw died on this date. 1999, died of a stroke at age 82. And then 2017, Mary Tyler Moore died at age 80. A few other things happened on this date that I thought were interesting. You may not, whatever. In 1840, actually before this, I read on a little bit later on, but I didn't write this down. On this date, a Russian explorer discovered Antarctica. But it was years later in 1840 that an American expedition was the first to identify Antarctica as its own continent. So anyway, 1840. Ladies, how many of y'all have been married? How many of you walked down the aisle to dun 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 dun? That's Mendelssohn. It was first played on this date in a wedding in 1858. It's the wedding march. And it was played at the wedding of Queen Victoria's daughter, Princess Victoria. So, anyway, 1858. So it's been around a long time. Been being played a long time. 1870, the soda fountain was patented by Gustavus Dowes. Whoever that is, I don't know. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting. The soda fountain was patented on this date, 1870. And I was just at a restaurant yesterday. Put it up under there. It has evolved quite a bit since then, but you know what I mean. 1924, the first Winter Olympics were played. Anybody know where the first Winter Olympics were played? Anybody got a guess?
Not Greece.
What now?
Not Greece.
It was not Greece. It was not Germany.
Norway.
Not Norway. That's actually a good guess. I didn't think about that.
Sweden.
No, it's not one of those places up there that you would think. It was actually in France, 1924. Let's see, what else? 1961, you movie buffs, you Disney buffs. Disney released 101 Dalmatians on this date in the United States. 1961, so it's what, 41 years ago? Long time. No, 61 years ago. 3 years later, 1964, the Beatles' first hit to go to number one. Anybody know what it was?
Liz.
This was before my date, before my time.
The Yellow Submarine.
No, that
Huh,
was,
no?
no, that was like 69.
Their first?
Love Me Do
Number
or,
one?
Hard Day's Night.
Nope.
Twist and Shout.
Nope. I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Oh.
So first one to go to number one in the United States. I remember this even. I was in double digits by this time, but I didn't keep up with the news. But I do remember this as one of the first stories that I was interested in world events. 1981 on this date, the 52 American hostages in Iran arrived back in the United States on this date. Anybody remember how long they were gone? I do remember this. I don't know why. I remember this from back then.
2,
Hmm?
no,
Mm-mm.
10. More
444 days
Oh, okay.
they were. So,
Almost 2 years.
Well, and then last but not least, at least for my reporting today, because I find these things very interesting, 2004, NASA's Opportunity rover lands on the surface of Mars. Just let that sink in, that we have, and of course we've sent more since then. We just had one, a couple of years ago, 2 of them that we planted on Mars. The fact that we have rovers on Mars, and now they're not just rolling along the surface; they're actually flying above the surface. That we can control that here like a remote control. It's crazy.
Can I say an interesting fact?
If it's quick.
We have more power in our cell phones and our smartphones than we do in the computers that send us to the moon.
Yep, I did know that. I remember going to the NASA Center in the north part of Alabama. I don't remember the place, the city where that is, and they talked about that. I thought that was fascinating.
And today is also National Opposite Day.
Opposite day.
Which means
Okay.
it's not opposite.
All right. So, just by way of announcement, for those of you who are in here, those of you who are watching, if you are a member of the church, our directories are in. If you haven't picked one up, even if you didn't have your picture made, if you're a member, you can take one with you. Come and get it. You can come get it out of the office if you'd like to. Or, in fact, you can pick up one tonight. We got them in the office tonight if y'all are here. Or you can pick up one Sunday when you're here. All right? Anything else we need to talk about? Okay.
The dessert auction is this weekend.
Yeah, come support support our teenagers. That's always just fun. It's kind of a hoot. People start breaking out breaking out their checkbooks to help support, and they buy, a cake for $400. That's always fascinating. And then afterwards, everybody gets to have some of all of it. So it's a lot of fun. But now, and I remember Jimmy used to be the world's worst, wasn't he? I mean, that man loved to overpay for desserts. So yep. So yeah. Because he knew he was helping out teenagers. He just wanted to help somebody. He didn't really care about the desserts. It was probably like a little competition for him too. But anyway, all right.
Oh, not a
If you have, your book, your little manual to walk through the Route 66, we are going through Paul's letters. We've already been through the book of Romans. Took us 2 weeks to do it, and now we are going to cover the introduction to 1 Corinthians. I'm not sure who is watching with us either in person right now. I see a couple of folks who are watching, but we got more eyes than what I see. So anyway, I don't know who's watching now. Certainly don't know who's going to be watching later. But if you're just joining us, our Route 66 is covering an introduction to every single book of the Bible. Of course, there's 66 books. We're doing an introduction to each one of them, as well as other introductions. Introduction to the New Testament, introduction to the intertestamental period, all that, and combining it in books. And so if you'd like one, we can have a copy made for you. Or if you'd like an electronic copy, you can send us an email to the email that is about to show up in your comment section. She is feverishly typing, or have you already done so? She's way ahead of me, as usual. And so just type that in there, and just send us an email saying you'd like some electronic copies of any of the lessons that you want, and we'll be glad to send those to you. All right? That is enough introductory stuff. I just spent 10 minutes doing introductory stuff. So let's jump into the study now. Introduction to 1 Corinthians. Who wrote the book? That's a pretty easy one in this case. Not so with every single book of the Bible, not so with every book of the New Testament even. But this book is about as solid a case as you are going to find as any in the Bible. The Apostle Paul is the acknowledged author both within the book itself. He says so in the first few verses of the book as well as the end of the book. And it's also attributed to Paul by the early church fathers. Now, we have used that term before, but maybe in case somebody is unclear what we're talking about, the early church fathers were those who were not the disciples of Jesus, but those are the ones who were the disciples of Jesus. In other words, they were very, very early in the time of the church, and they had information that was passed down just secondhand. And so it's pretty reliable information. As early as 96, the year 96, which means only 40 years after it was written, okay, so very quickly, church leaders attested to his authorship. And today, practically all New Testament scholars agree. That is a rare find that all these guys who do all the study, all these guys who know that they're smart, and I'm not saying that they're all arrogant or whatever, but they all got their, smart people are very opinionated. And yet all of them who are credible for the most part, I know this is an overgeneralization, for the most part, all New Testament scholars are going to agree Paul wrote the thing. The internal and external evidence is so convincing that not even the harshest critics question Paul's authorship. So, there we have it. It's pretty much a solid case that we have that Paul wrote the book. Now, the namesake. And when I talk about the namesake, who's it named after and what do we know about that entity? Now, in the Old Testament, most of the time when we talked about the namesake, we were talking about somebody. We'd be talking about, well, I guess that's not always the case. It's only I guess when we got to the major and minor prophets, we were usually talking about somebody. But in this case, we're talking about some place. The namesake is Corinth. Because of Corinth's location, anybody know where Corinth was located? It's already been mentioned tonight.
In the Middle East.
Actually, no. It will not even be considered the Middle East.
Italy?
We're getting close. It's already been mentioned tonight. Okay.
France?
Greece?
Okay. Y'all ready for my famous drawing?
Yes.
Y'all have seen this before. Okay? Because I've done it in here. All right? So, let's see.
Have you done this in Sunday school?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I have.
Don't insult the preacher.
Did she insult me?
No.
Oh, don't insult the preacher. Okay, that's a good idea. Don't insult the okay, there's a big lake up here somewhere. Anyway. All right. Okay. Y'all remember what this is, right?
Absolutely not.
No, you cannot tell what this is? Oh, you people are insulting. Oh,
Looks
so
like a dinosaur on the side.
I've heard people say that before. Okay, so you are correct. Now,
Looks like a dinosaur.
and I think I told y'all the last time I drew this that my uncle was a professional artist. I mean, like, he got paid to do that. He won awards and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty impressive. I need to put that online so that people can know my heritage. I inherited none of it, okay? None of it. But this is it. So, let's see. All right, are we on there? Okay. Trying to make sure everybody can see. Okay. Now, this is the Nile River. How can y'all not tell that? Nile River down there. This is Israel, which is definitely not drawn to scale. This is Crete, which means that this is Italy, this is Greece, this is France. Okay? It's my best attempt at it anyway. Or is this Spain? That's Spain, isn't it? Spain.
Are you sure?
Okay, no. Okay. So, this is Greece, and this is not drawn to scale. But anyway, so you know of this place right here, because that's Athens. And we just got finished talking about the Winter Olympics, but the Summer Olympics, of course, that's where it was in ancient times and where I believe it began when they started back in 1900. I think that's where they held it again. Corinth was right here, right near it. And there was another place called right here called Isthmia. Now, there were two major, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, because of Corinth's location and what we call Greece, yes, see? My drawings are getting through. It was a vital commercial city by land and by sea because it was a major trade center. I mean, you had, if you were coming from any direction to get up in here, this would be where you would come, and you would probably, there's, right in here next to it, I've got this terrible little drawing right in here, but that is called, it's not the Gulf. Oh my goodness. It's not a sea. It's not the harbor. What is the word? Anyway, of Corinth, it was a little water inlet. And you would come in here and you would unload in the port at Corinth, and then it would be distributed all around that area at that time. So, because of all that, its population was large. In fact, it was probably the largest city in Greece in the time of Paul, which is saying something when you have Athens that you are competing with. But because of its location and the security of its port and all those kinds of things, it was bigger than Athens in Paul's day. In Paul's day. So it was a major place. When you consider in a strategic place, when you consider the spread of the gospel, you want to get to like let's just take Savannah for instance. Okay, most of us are in Savannah. Even the people who are watching after this, I mean, it's going to be mostly, not everybody. I know that there are some people not in Savannah who watch. But one of the things that I think about when I think of Savannah, did you know that there are, at last count, maybe COVID closed some of them down, there are 9 universities in the city of Savannah. That's nuts. 9. Now, here's why that matters. Here's what, when you think about it like this, and this is one of the reasons we really need to do something about reaching some of these campuses, which requires us to go off Emmanuel campus to do. But look, people from all over the world, literally all over the world, are coming to Savannah to go to school. Okay, and I've got one circle, but let's just say that represents 9 different universities. That's a lot. So they come from all over the world, and if we can somehow reach them and get the gospel to them, they're probably not staying in Savannah. They've come from other places, and they're going to go back home. The things that they're learning here at the particular institutions that we have will be better served elsewhere, and so they're going to come here for a short amount of time, and then they're going to turn around and go back out all over the world. So just like at Pentecost, I mean, you think about the strategic timing of God to do what he did at Pentecost when everybody is descending from all over the world or descending on Jerusalem. At that particular time, he sends the Holy Spirit on the disciples so that they're speaking in these different languages. They get to share the gospel, and now all these people are going home. It's an incredible opportunity. So, the church at Corinth had the exact same thing, except to an even greater extent, because of the population that was there. People are always going through major trade routes. If you can reach that city and you can start a church, and that church reaches the people who are coming through, the gospel is then disseminated around the world. Does that make sense? I probably beat that dead horse, didn't I? Anyway, so it's a large city, and it was culturally and racially diverse. It was also a major entertainment center. And this is what I was getting to a second ago when I mentioned Isthmia and Athens and Corinth, kind of all in there together. There were 2 great athletic festivals of the day, and one of them was the Olympics. Okay, we're familiar with that because they've revived themselves. The other was the Isthmian Games, and Corinth was the host of that latter one. That's what it is. Well, no, I guess this whole thing across here, this whole stretch of land from Corinth to Isthmia, it was called the Isthmus of Corinth. That was the name of it. And so that's hence the name, the Isthmian Games.
What was the blank right after Greece? When it said
Large.
large.
The population was large. The city held a famous temple to Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Now, we all understand that love is a general term that represents a lot of different things. And this love was not the kind of godlike love that we talk about in the New Testament or in Christianity today. The agape kind of love is not that, but she was the goddess of love. And so they had temples that basically this is how they had church. The temple normally housed some 1,000 priestesses. And priestesses were basically just ritual prostitutes. That is what they were. And so this temple to Aphrodite was up on a hill that overlooked the city. And then in the afternoon, as the evening is rolling in, and men are settling in from doing their job, getting their goods into the port, and they're trying to find a place to settle in, and they're finished unloading and all that kind of stuff that they're getting ready to do. 1,000 priests. I mean, you can just kind of see them. And I'm not saying it was like this, but in my mind, I see this rush of women coming down from this hill in order to descend upon the city, in order to try to lure these city travelers and the local men into their rights, into their sexual rights and those kinds of things. So that's kind of what they were looking at. This is the church is in the middle of all of this. Even and this it even gets worse. Listen to this. Even to the pagan world, the city was known for its moral corruption. I mean, moral bankruptcy. So much so that in classical Greek, to Corinthianize, which is one word in Greek, came to represent gross immorality and drunken debauchery. Now, tell me, let's just throw out a couple. What do you think of when you think of Las Vegas? When I say Vegas, what do you think of? Okay, Sin City, okay. Gambling. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Right.
What about Chicago?
Lobsters.
Crime, okay, yeah. Let's see. Los Angeles. Hollywood, glitz, glamour maybe. San Francisco.
Streetcars.
No, what?
Hated
Homosexuality, yeah.
Hated
So
Asbury.
there are cities that are so infused, so what's the word? Saturated is a good word. With these particular things that they become known as the same thing. Okay? In fact, y'all said Las Vegas, Sin City. I mean, that's how that was Corinth in the olden days to even the pagans. It's not like the church was saying this. Even the lost world was saying, man, that place is moral corruption personified. The name of the city became synonymous with moral depravity. And Paul lists some of the city's characteristic sins in chapter 6, beginning in verse 9. So if you got your Bible, you can turn there real quick, or on your phone or whatever. If not, just listen to some of the things that were going on in the city. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9, I do not know, or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived, neither fornications, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor the covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. He's like pointing out this is what's going on right in your backyard and really in your church, and this is normal there. So, yeah, it's and that's just like the beginning. So, that's Corinth. When you're talking about Corinth, you're talking about a bad place. Okay, and sadly, like if it's up to the American church, sadly we're probably running away from there, like condemning them, or maybe we're being spiritual and we're praying for them. And Paul says, no, we're going to start a church there. That's how that's going to go down. Now, what's the date of writing? Paul left Corinth for Ephesus and stayed there 3 years. And he wrote 1 Corinthians sometime toward the end of his time in Ephesus, which is sometime around the year 56. Now, let's talk about the church itself. We talked about the city, but let's talk about the church that was planted within that city. Paul first came to Corinth on his second missionary journey. Second missionary journey. And that's a short blank, right? I was just thinking to ND. So, if you feel like if you want to write the whole word second in there, then go for it. Upon his arrival, he met two folks, Aquila and Priscilla, Jews who had been driven out of Rome, and they, like himself, were tent makers. He stayed with them a while and preached regularly in the synagogue there, and many came to Christ, including Crispus, the leader of the synagogue, and his household. You can read all about that in Acts chapter 18. And like we mentioned just a few minutes ago, Paul left Corinth to go to Ephesus. He took Aquila and Priscilla, and they met Apollos. Apollos, one P and two L's. They met Apollos, whom they refined doctrinally. Remember, they took him under their wing and taught him the way of God in a more, I didn't memorize that, in a more accurate way. I don't think the word accurate, but I think that's what it meant. Sometime following eventually Apollos became the pastor of the Corinthian church, which is good because he apparently was a great orator. And